Welcome back, everybody. This episode is dedicated to negotiations. We've kind of walked through the whole process of applying for a job, you interviewed well, you got an offer, and now you've taken a look at this offer, and now you might decide that, okay, I kind of like this, there's some things I like, some things I don't like. Let's talk negotiation.
Yeah, I think top tip here is you once again rewind to first episode here. You got to know your goals, or else you're just negotiating for the sake of it. So understand what you want and have a walkaway point. You need to know at what point does this not make sense for you. One of the worst things is not having a walkaway point. I've done deals outside of just contract and employment negotiations, much bigger deals. You need to know at what point is a walkaway for you. You don't need to say that, you shouldn't say that, but you should have it in your mind, which at all costs, as a fail-safe, you walk away. So know that first, right? Know those things first.
Okay, so how do you know when to negotiate?
Yeah. So, I mean, at some point you'll understand if the contract makes sense for your long-term goals, but also you want to do some competitive research. Go on a job board like Covalent Careers and look at the salaries being offered, look at the benefits being offered, look at the hours being offered in your community. What is the going rate? Try to get a general average. Understand what the landscape is like so that you can peg this position to others. Now, you don't just need, if this is a great position that's got just the most amazing people, laid back cult-like culture in life, you're gonna love it, and the salary's lower, you've got to make some sacrifices. This is a balance beam of what really matters. All things have pros and cons. But if it just doesn't make sense and it's way out of the ballpark and just wrong, having those key data points are very important in deciding when and when not to negotiate. The things you'll be negotiating over are, of course, compensation, benefits, a little bit less so hours and time. That's kind of the necessity of what the practice needs, and you're just going to have to do that. You also may negotiate over things like incentives, which is compensation, paid time off, things like
Continuing education benefits,
continuing education, CE, licensing exam fees, and other little perks. So really, you're not going to be negotiating over job duties. Those are going to be set.
Yeah. So why don't I paint a few different scenarios and see how you would go about negotiating these points or these certain elements in a contract. So
throw them at me.
Okay.
I have not seen these yet.
Yeah, this is just 100%. Yep. So let's pretend that you received your contract and it's pretty much everything you expected. Hours, days, duties. You even have some paid time off, which you were surprised about. You weren't expecting that. But one thing you kind of noticed was that the salary seemed a bit lower than what maybe you were anticipating, or maybe that you thought is the going rate in the area. So how would you approach this particular situation and negotiate? How would you negotiate the salary?
So there's really two situations I think you could be in. Either the salary is so grossly under what it's supposed to be in your area, or it's really close, maybe within a couple $1,000. So say like it's like 20 grand under and it really just doesn't make sense. Like something seems off. Everyone's offering 110 and they're offering 80 or something like that, right? I would propose that, okay, so I appreciate you giving me the information on the offer. Look, I just want to better understand this information here. I was just doing some research and I looked at about 5 practices or so hiring over the last 6 months in our area, roughly 20 miles or so. And I just noticed the average salary seemed to be about around 110,000, but I see that this offer is for 80. Can you just help me better understand why the differential? Why is there a big gap here? And why is yours under? I just want to understand that. So you're posing this question not as, I want more money, you should be doing this. You're letting that doctor talk, because the first thing that might happen is, or the practice owner talk, or the hiring manager. They may go, you know what, you're right, and they may just negotiate with themselves and just bring the offer higher. Or they'll give you a really good reason and they'll go, oh, you didn't know? There's a $30,000 bonus that you didn't know, or something. They'll fill in that information.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And the employer could, like you said, could come back and say, okay, well, yeah, you're probably right. Why don't I take a look back at the numbers and send you.
Yeah, they may be unaware of that. Right. They really may be unaware of that situation, which you want to bring to their attention. But ultimately, you end up in scenario 2, say like it's not grossly under, but it's close. That statement is a little bit easier, saying something like, I understand what the salary is, and that's totally fine. I think that offer makes a lot of sense. But what I would like to understand is, what is the room for incentive bonus? Really, my goal would be to be about $5,000 higher than where we are, but I'm comfortable taking that as additional bonus should I exceed or hit certain goals. So I know I'm trying to bring in ocular disease and do marketing and advertising. I also know you said we were willing to meet quarterly, or we could discuss this to see if I'm on track. What are your thoughts around having an incentive bonus should I achieve certain goals? Are you open to something like that? So once again, it's putting the value on the doc or on yourself rather than just saying, pay me more because.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's the main takeaway, is that you're not just going in and asking for more money. You're trying to understand what the offer is and why you're being offered a certain number, but you're also attempting to show that you might be trying to negotiate a higher number, but for XYZ reason, because you can provide XYZ value.
Yep. So there's also situations where compensation may be completely incentivized or performance-based only. Typically, that compensation works in the form of a percentage of receipts. So what that means is that the money collected for the day that is generated from you, you take a percentage of that. Or some sort of percentage of glasses sales or whatever it might be. You may see compensation like that, which is excellent because in that case you can really earn a lot more by doing a better job, and I think that was your format, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what my format was, and I would say that if you are in that type of arrangement, just understand the practice you're going to be working in, because it is 100% performance-based, which can be good or bad. If you're entering a practice that is jam-packed with patients, and you're walking into a busy schedule, that can be very good. Mm-hmm. But if you're going in and you're seeing maybe 5 patients a day, there very well could be days you walk home making $50 on the day, or $100, if that. So you have to kind of understand the practice you're in, and if you do understand the practice you're in and you're offered that sort of incentive-based pay, or maybe not incentive-based pay, but production-based pay, then you might want to talk about maybe negotiating in some sort of salary floor.
Yep.
And that's the tip I would share.
Yeah, so it's really important, I think, to have those talks around your performance, not just asking for more money because you're a doc who graduated and you think you're great at what you do. Show it, put your money where your mouth is. Once again, these are typically small businesses or businesses that thrive off of you making more dollars for them. If you make them more money, you should receive more money. That's the major format here that you want to get across. But let's talk about negotiating other things. Feel free to throw some other questions, maybe around time off or 401k, things like that.
I don't know that it's necessarily uncommon that many doctors will find themselves in a situation where they are offered a certain compensation, but nothing else. Mm-hmm. So no paid time off, no holidays, no 401k. When you see that, how do you navigate those waters?
Well, typically I think they're going to have one of those things. If there's nothing, I think you should approach that a little bit more bluntly, once again by saying, look, I've researched a lot of the practices in the area. This seems to be a trend. How do you feel about those things, right? If it's missing, say, like just the PTO days or just the 401k, I think you could approach that piece head on. Oh, and by the way, sick days will be something that's governed by your state law, so you can just Google that and find out what your sick days are. Usually you accrue them the more time you work there, and no one can take that away from you. But PTO, paid time off, is different. So you can say, hey doc, so it looks like here you only have a day off of PTO, and I understand that. What's important to me to really thrive, recharge, and be motivated is to have some paid time off. Balancing personal and professional life, although I kind of see them as one, this is my passion, this is what I'm here to do, it's important for me to get that time with my family, with my friends, and recharge. I don't want to burn out. I want to deliver consistent results for the practice. And for that, I think paid time off is something I've seen in other offers or in other jobs. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that. And perhaps if you'd be open to having more PTO days.
When you're negotiating this, whether it is compensation, whether it is paid time off, is a good strategy to just ask or negotiate for exactly what you want? Or are you always trying to go a little bit higher? Because you hear, well, go higher because they'll bring you down. Or is it just better just to be transparent? This is what I'm looking for. This is all I want.
I think in an employment type of situation, you are honest and you ask for what you want. I think there's other types of deals that have a lot of moving parts. and a lot of levers to pull and knobs to turn. And in that case, you can go with this like higher and meet in the middle type of thing. I am a type of never split the difference type of person. You ask for what you want and you stand by that. You don't need to be hard-headed about it, but go with the honest approach. But you'll notice that I keep asking for, well, how do you feel about it? And getting them to throw out the first piece and then coming back from it. Because you may say, really, I just want another 2 PTO days. And they go, you know what, you're right. That's come up in a few different interviews now. And we've decided, since that's important to you, to offer a full 7. Well, man, you would have shortchanged yourself. Right. So let them come first. And you have to practice silence and asking questions and reflection and listening. For something like 401k, just real quick, what is a 401k? 401k is a retirement account. It's a tax advantage account that lets you get tax savings. It's very similar to an IRA. IRA is a personal account, about a $5,500 limit. 2019 401k is about $19,000 limit. The unique part about a 401k is that the employer can contribute or match part of what you contribute, which means that's not you're putting in your own money, but they're putting in some of their own money. You can't take it out until you retire, but those are very important vehicles for planning for your future life. Administering a 401k as an employer doesn't really cost much, so you may want that opportunity, but for them to chip in and match, that does obviously cost something. Not always will you have that option as a 401k, so be careful about negotiating something on that. Why? Because if an employer is not used to it, and they don't have it, saying, I want a 401k, you've got to do this. Think about what they've got to do to set that up. They got to set it up for everyone in the practice. They've got to call their accountant. They've got to jump through a lot of hoops. So before you negotiate something, think about what they need to do to make it happen. Maybe you don't want to do 401k. You want to negotiate something much simpler, like extra pay or extra time off. So go for what's going to be easy for them, not what's going to be more difficult for them, and that will help you in your pursuit. Put yourself in their shoes.
What do you do if the employer doesn't want to budge? Mm-hmm. They say, well, there's a lot of candidates for this position. We really like you, but this is kind of our standard compensation package, and maybe it's take it or leave it.
Yep. So you're at 2 points. You seem to be at an impasse, right? If you are below your walkaway point in your head, you walk away. If you're not below your walkaway point, you may ask the question, look, I totally understand and I respect that. I agree with that. But what do you think about talking about this again in 6 months or fill in the blank, a year? Mm-hmm. And if they go, look, it is what it is and we won't be talking about this in 6 months or a year, I'd just run for the hills. That's just weird. Why? What kind of person are you that you're not amenable to those things? If they go, absolutely, you may want to lock it in and say, look, let's just put this one to rest, but will we for sure talk about that then? Are you comfortable with me bringing this up in next September when we talk?
Do you get that in writing? Do you get that in your contract, or is it kind of just a gentleman's agreement?
Even if it's in a contract, I don't think that it holds any sort of weight. Ultimately, that's not something that needs to be in writing. That's, again, they got to go to their attorney, they got to edit in, they got to take the time to do it. You're just becoming a pain for them. Mm-hmm. But looking into their eyes and saying it and being comfortable about that is important. Because even if it's in a contract, what are you going to do? Bring them to court and say they didn't meet with me? I mean, you just want to quit at that point anyway. Right. So don't do things just to do them. The contractual things are going to be these core tenets of your position: compensation, benefits, pay, duties, hours, non-competes, other clauses like that.
I guess I've got one more situation. Mm-hmm. So let's just say that your contract classifies you as a 1099 employee, or independent contractor, I should say. But everything that you know about your duties and your hours and everything else really classifies you as an employee. We obviously can talk about tax implications. We've got resources on that. There are tax implications, but
how do you negotiate?
How do you negotiate that?
So in this situation, what Antonio's saying is, I want to be an employee because I only want to pay half my Medicare and Social Security, and I want to receive benefits and get the perks of being an employee. And the other situation, the practice is saying, you're an independent contractor. You are an independent contractor if you are subleasing space, if you decide when you want to go in, if you're bringing your own equipment. Just Google IRS checklist for being an independent contractor and see if you check those boxes. So if you know in your heart of hearts and like you're like, look, there's no way and I'm an independent contractor, I'm sure I'm an employee, at that point, what I would do is talk to a CPA, talk to your family CPA, and ultimately say, look, I'm an employee, I really want this job, I don't want to blow it, but I need you to help me handle this. And then you go back to the employer and say, I love the opportunity, we're ready to go, but here's the thing. I was just seeking counsel, and basically from what I was told by my CPA, I am absolutely an employee. And then you go, I don't know, I'm not the expert on this, but this is what they told me, and I would love if you can talk to them about it. I don't know, I'm not the expert. And so what you're doing is you're blaming it on them in a way. You're removing yourself as the decision maker. You're leaving the decision making on this person who is an expert in tax law. And this employer, they may not know. They may have just followed that, rule, and they don't know. But here's the thing. If the IRS ever looks, the employer is the one who's in trouble. They can end up having to pay all this extra fees and make up the tax that they didn't pay. You can also be liable, but in a way you're looking out for them. So that's the way you want to frame it. Look, this is just what our CPA says. Do you mind talking with them? And if they're like, no, you're an independent contractor, don't take it or leave it. Yeah. Once again, you're at an impasse, and I think you can ask your CPA and say, what do you think? Just know that there is some liability there. It's not something that I believe you'd go to jail over, right. But there could be very big tax consequences to it. But understand that it is a gray area, and lots of employers and employees do this. And I've never seen major litigation around optometrists and this type of thing, but there has been a lot of back taxes paid through other forms of this. Yeah.
So if you just had to leave everybody with top 3 negotiation tips, just in summary, what would they be?
I think top 3 negotiation tips would be, 1, you really need to understand where you're trying to go with your life and your goal so that you understand what to negotiate, right? Number 2, have a walkaway point. Having a walkaway point will keep your heart beating slower, you'll be more calm, you'll understand, really what you need to do, and you'll have a mental picture of it. And 3, and probably most important, these are in no order, would be to negotiate by saying that you will bring value. This is someone's business, whether it's a corporate entity or private. They built it, they slaved over it, they worked really hard, and ultimately it's about you saying, I'm going to provide value, I'm going to help you build your business, I'm going to make you more money, and for that extra growth, I would like to take some of it as well in the form of incentive. So it's saying we both win, and that's always very reasonable, and it does form great business relationships. So proceed by putting value as the piece of negotiation. It's not just I want more money or whatever, because it's I'm going to provide this, so I want more dollars. Now, one more tip, say like you've been working somewhere for quite a while, right? And it's time that you really want that bump in salary. Once again, just don't say something like, hey doc, I've been here for a while. I think it's time for a raise. You've got to frame that different. Hey doc, I've been here for a very long time. I'm a staple in the community. If we look, we've grown a lot over the years. We grew 6% per year. I brought in a lot of patients. I have a great following now. And I intend to continue to drive that for the next 5 years. And I wanted to approach the topic of compensation with you and see what you thought and what would be reasonable and fair. Can you let me know what you have in mind for 2019 compensation and benefits? And I want to let you know I'll continue providing that value. I'm here to do that and wanted to get your thoughts. It's not, I want $5,000 more. They may go, you know what? Trip to Cabo and you got 10 grand more. So you just never know, and allow them to fill that space first. I would practice these negotiations with a family or friend. You can try the same ones, and ultimately it's the voice tone, it's the shaking out all the fears, being ready for it. And if you're working with one of our talent acquisition specialists, we're more than happy to help you in those pursuits, and we're here to answer any questions you have. So thank you all for watching this workshop, downloading the resources that came with it. Please share this with a friend. Let them know that this exists. Let them know they can fast forward to every part that they want that's applicable to them. Our goal here at Covalent Careers is to give you the resources you need to succeed. This stuff is never taught. We are dedicated to helping you learn it in a fun, interactive way. Covalent Careers and our entire team is here to help you with jobs, mentorship, resources, you name it. Share it with a friend. We hope you enjoy it, and we're always here to get your feedback. Submit us any questions through the chat or through the platform, and we will get back to you. We will even shoot a whole nother one of these if we need to.
Would love to. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.